Chapter 4: The Adventures of Billy and Bravo. As I adjusted the radio dial located in the perimeter of my right frontal lobe to a more receptive station, there was some static and a minimal amount of distortion, but not enough to generate anything. Another click on the fine-tuning dial proved to be successful, for suddenly, there was a break in the cloud cover. As pictures formed from shadows, I found myself pandering in the unkempt solace of waning distractions. A illusory image of a baby boy patting a beach ball on an empty and desolate shore had materialized. Rapidly, and without warning, the ball took to the sky like a helium balloon, and I followed swiftly behind it. Like a meteor preparing to burn itself out, I rocketed skyward until I saw something moving ever so serenely across the horizon. I honed in on it and prepared to initiate contact. As it entered my field of vision, I let the invisible air current carry me up to it. An airplane glides by with a hum and onlookers look up. Hat brims shield the eyes from a scorching sun. The pilot waves to the crowd below and smiles, but no one sees his face, for he is in a dream. As I hover above the cockpit, I can now see a three-dimensional image of the control panel and a partial glimpse of our navigator enjoying the view. The pin-up girl on the side of the aircraft has a stunning appearance and is delicately holding a glass of pale champagne. Her legs are folded provocatively, thus implying a motive. Without hesitation, she raises her glass to me and grins before taking a sip of the sparkling intoxicant. Then, with lips pursed and eyes closed, she gives me an adoring kiss before returning to her original position. As Venus comes into alignment with Mercury, the sun reflects upon the two planets, causing the paint to flake off, until there is no design left on the aircraft at all. At this point, my incendiary shell has burned up in the troposphere, and I'm no longer a shooting star but the air itself, cascading through the ripples of a wind-blown sea to the very breath of man. Pages from a calendar blow off one by one and fall like leaves to the ground. Finally, the wind ceases and the whistle blows. It's Friday, 1953, and the city is overflowing with joy. The sun is now perfectly in tune with the movement of the passing plane, and as the clock becomes drowsy above the odometer, it slows to an abrupt halt. It was at this moment that the die was cast. The umbrage released from the resilient bird with an ironclad body was one that provided relief from a blistering heat wave, now in its 7th day. This darkened the faces in awe as it covered the ground in a geometric and dilatory manner. An applause rang out in the street where women cried, men cheered and threw their hats to heaven. The laudation continued. That was until the sun shifted. If we run fast enough, thought Billy to his fearless dog Bravo, we can bask in its shade. So off they went. Tiny feet pattered to the rhythm of a drum roll that appeared to be coming from the attic above my room. "There he goes," said a black man in his mid-20s, smiling. He had been carefully documenting the quality of the air with XY to the 4th power on a medium-sized notepad. "I just love to see that little dog run," proclaimed Jasper with glee. He then tipped his yellow hat to the fine-looking critter before turning to watch smoke rings being blown from a billboard advertisement encouraging youths to smoke. As they came forth into the air, they linked to form a billowing chain that stretched far into the Earth's atmosphere. In the small province of Bakersfield, China, the links dangled to the ground, where they are broken off and eaten by some of the world's poorest people. They had a name for it. It was called Mu Gao. I saw a beautiful Asian woman as white as a pearl, and thought, he who condemns imagination is like a child forbidden to play, a lover unable to touch, a guide who has just lost his way. Soon the dog ran out of steam and was panting. It was difficult for the tiny pug to scoot more than a few blocks without suffering the burden caused by such intense heat. The little fellow had pushed himself too hard and was now exhausted. He struggled to catch his breath, but it seemed he had exceeded his limit. By a public school, he stopped and looked at several tall cans filled with coal ashes. As the drops of wasted energy fell to the sidewalk, They landed on small but thick circles of violet glass used in the gaslight era to reflect light into the school's basement. Gazing into the violet prism, he saw a defeated image of himself in the diminutive pool of water that sparkled for a moment and then died. As the shimmering heat emanated up from the street's surface only inches away, Bravo knew he could go no further. It was in this precise location where he collapsed and sprawled out on the walkway. Through moist eyes filled with sadness, he watched his friend succeeding from a distance. Only 3 feet away stood a bone-dry, jet-black fire hydrant, and I wanted nothing more than for that hydrant to turn on, but it simply could not. So the little dog closed his eyes forever.